Action Project. And we're actually the largest provider of arts education in the Central Texas area. And we do a variety of programs all around a mission of using theater and the creative arts to help young people develop their self-esteem and learn about a variety of social issues through our program. So we go into classrooms during the day and do interactive performances in classrooms. We have a very large after-school program that's in 7 school districts where we place artists and residents onto campuses to work on really exciting, socially engaged projects. And then we have programs where we work with teens, one in Gardner-Vet's Juvenile Detention Center where we help them create theater about their lives, and another in partnership with Safe Place where they create performances about bullying and dating violence that they share in the community. So all in all, we work with about 16,000 young people in the area.
My name is Dylan Jones. Anthropos Arts is a music-based program. I started out as a musician and founded this organization 13 years ago. Essentially, we kind of strive to promote equal opportunity in music education by hiring Austin professional musicians and university grad students to go into low-income schools and provide free music lessons and workshops and performance opportunities for students who couldn't otherwise afford them.
I'm Jennifer Vocelka. I'm a clinician at the Sims Foundation, and the Sims Foundation provides mental health and addiction recovery services for Austin area musicians and their families.
I'm Melinda Chow. I'm the interim ED at Girls Rock Austin. We're best known for Girls Rock Camp. So we empower girls of all backgrounds, means, and abilities by fostering community, social change, and life skills development through music education and performance. So what does that mean? We have girls come to Rock Camp. They're aged 10 to 17. They learn how to play an instrument. They work with local musicians to write their very own song, form their very own band, and they perform it at the end of the week at places like the Parish, the Highball, Republic Live, and Red 7.
Hi, I'm Celia Hughes. I'm the Executive Director of VSA Texas, which is the state organization on arts and disability. We are the state affiliate of an international organization that is a member of the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. And we have affiliates in 35 states and 60 countries. And we work with all people of all ages with all kinds of disabilities. And here in Austin, we have a gallery on 37th and Guadalupe that features visual artists and media artists. We have a theater company called Actual Lives that performs on stages around town. And we do a lot of work in the schools, working in special education classrooms with art therapists and with teaching artists, both to help reduce the barriers to the arts and to increase the tools and techniques that teachers have to include the arts into their daily classroom practices. I got my degree in speech pathology and worked for several years with in school systems, working with people with in speech therapy and focused mainly on language acquisition. Worked a lot with people who were developing or didn't have the language or didn't have speech. But I'd been working in the arts as a singer and in the theater for all my life. So I moved to New York City and worked in New York for 10 years in the theater and film industry, and then eventually ended up here in Austin, where I went to the LBJ School of Public Affairs and got my degree there. I thought at that time that I was going to be in international affairs. I pictured myself as a diplomat, but they didn't picture me as a diplomat. So I was working, so I got a job working with runaway and homeless youth, and the next thing I knew, I was working back with people with disabilities, which I had been working on and off my whole life, in the arts. I was the volunteer at a small organization here in town called Access Arts Austin, which provided audio description. We were just a volunteer organization to go into theaters and museums and movies and do verbal description of visual information for people who are blind. That's called audio description, and so we were doing that. And in 1999, the corporate office of VSA came and asked if I would consider becoming the state affiliate. So I did that. So from 1999 until now, we became the state affiliate.
So my background academically is actually in anthropology. So really a social science. I have a bachelor's in anthropology, and then I got a master's in applied anthropology at the University of Memphis. The faculty at the University of Memphis in applied anthropology were very connected to nonprofits and public agencies in the city, and encouraged very much for the students to be engaged in organizations around the city. And so if we were interested, and they encouraged us to be so, we could easily tap into those local organizations and local agencies to get internships. We were required to do a practicum as a part of our program, and it was also very easy to volunteer via our departmental connections. So I did a lot of that while I was in grad school. My professional nonprofit experience really has more to do with civic engagement and diversity than the arts specifically, but I think the path to nonprofit still applies here. One of the things I did also was I was an AmeriCorps Vista for a year. I was a volunteer. And that position, the organization that I was working with, connected me to a couple of jobs in Washington, D.C. with a couple of national organizations. And after I worked in program management positions there in Washington, D.C., it kind of set me up to go pretty much anywhere I wanted to go. When I came to Austin, actually, even though I'm here representing Girls Rock Austin, my day job is at KUT Radio, and so that's where I work to get paid for. A friend of mine approached me, and she said, you know, I really want to start a Girls Rock here in Austin, and we have both known each other for a while and had many conversations about feminism, about nonprofits, and about music, of course. And she said, would you like to help me? I said, yes, absolutely. And so that's how I got started with Girls Rock Austin. And through other colleagues at KUT, I was introduced to other arts organizations here in town, like the Ruby Campus Theater Group. And I don't know, I just kind of became a chronic volunteer for lots of stuff.
I did a lot of broadcast work in undergrad. I was a DJ at the college radio station. I was the executive producer of our weekly newscast on the television station. And my life, well, I got a job at, it was LBJS, it's now MS Broadcasting or MS Communications, which is the radio cluster with KGSR, KLBJ, 101X, Hot 93, an AM station. There's a couple stations, I mean a few stations there. And I worked there for 6 years doing marketing and promotions. After that, I went to work for the Grammy Awards for 2 years as a project manager, putting together different sorts of networking events and professional development events. Prior to going to the Grammys, during my time at the radio station, I encountered some personal difficulties, and I have kind of a sordid past, as some would say. I went away to what my family refers to as camp for 30 days and got clean because I was having some problems, and that really changed my life. I met some amazing counselors when I was in treatment, and during that time I just had a real change in passions. And so after working for the Grammys for 2 years, I decided to go back to school and get my master's in counseling and become a therapist.
I was a standard angsty, suicidal teen and was really angry and getting in a lot of trouble. And then once I got into music, it gave me something to kind of just geek out on and focus in my room and, shut up, leave me alone, and I practice. So that became kind of my passion. And then once I played on stage, and all the people that never gave me the time of day were like, man, you're a great bass player. I was like, wow, this is kind of interesting. It gave me so much confidence immediately. And also having a teacher who was really, really amazing bass player that told me, you're good at this and you should pursue this because you have talent. That was such an inspiring thing for me that I just took with me to college. And so coming out of college, I didn't study music in school, but I'd been in tons of bands and playing all the time around town. I was also doing some volunteer work at halfway houses and things and trying to, you know, be involved in community stuff, and realized that the kids that I was hanging out with had no idea that this music scene was going on. They couldn't go to clubs, obviously, or they're not supposed to because they're underage. And, you know, if you want to go see concerts, it costs money. And they're here and there, you know, few and far between. There's opportunities to see music for free, but a lot of these students won't leave their neighborhood to go try to see one of these things. If you don't have money, it's a bigger risk to try to go downtown or find something that's free, and then there's transportation issues, etc. So I started talking to my musician friends and said, you know, well, what if we brought music more to the schools? I went and did some surveys and surveyed some kids at schools to see, you know, what the need base was, and I realized it was huge. And there were tons of kids. There were kids in 12th grade that were in band since 6th grade, and they were playing at a 7th grade level because they were never able to afford that one-on-one instruction. And so I started Anthropos and was just kind of learning more and more about how to teach music as I went.
I went to Illinois Wesleyan, and I was a theater major. I got a BFA in theater and studied acting and directing and costume design, and thought that's what I wanted to do. And I moved to Chicago, and I was the first thing I did when I got out of undergrad was I decided I wanted to do an internship when I was in Chicago in order to kind of get into the theater scene there. And that's something I would highly recommend anyone to do if you're interested in working in nonprofits, is to do an internship, even an unpaid internship, to get your foot in the door. But I was approached by an organization in Chicago that is called Red Moon Theater, and they do a thing where at the time they had a program called Drama Girls, where they would find female artists in the city and pair them with young girls in the community to work on projects together. And they asked me if I wanted to be a mentor for the project. And so I said, sure. And it was through that experience of working with a young person and seeing how the arts could affect their lives and how much joy it brought them, how much they were able to learn about themselves and learn about teamwork, that I kind of had like an aha moment. But I was like, that's really more what I want to do with my creativity and my talent, as opposed to focusing on a career in the professional theater world, where I had just for several years sort of been questioning the meaning of what we were doing. Putting on all these great shows, it was fun, but kind of always felt a little bit empty. So after that experience, I just really threw myself into a lot of volunteerism and getting really engaged with all of the opportunities in Chicago to work on youth theater specifically. So I was, starting programs, volunteering at programs, and then I went to where I was working as an artistic associate, and I said, I actually would really prefer to kind of switch my job around and be working more in your education department. Here are the things I could do. I was just very proactive about it. I said, I can start this program for you and this program for you, and they're like, all right, we'll take a gamble on it. I kind of created all of these educational programs, and then I sort of realized, I had a degree in theater. I had this really strong interest in working in the community and helping young people, but I hadn't ever really taken any classes to sort of help me understand more what it meant in terms of the socioeconomic conditions of a lot of the kids I was working with, or what it meant for me to be going to communities I wasn't a part of. So I decided I wanted to go to grad school to have an opportunity to just kind of learn more about culture and people and cultural studies. So I went to NYU and I did a program there through a school called the Gallatin School, where you actually get to create your own master's program. Because at the time, and there still are only a handful that exist now, there aren't very many degrees in community-based arts out there. So I created my own master's program where I was taking classes at the Tisch School of the Arts, but also in the School of Education, and also in urban studies, and kind of all around trying to put together all the different things that I was interested in. And during that time, I worked the whole time at grad school with an organization in East Harlem that was called Girl Space. It was actually a social service organization. It was not an arts organization, but I was their arts specialist. And so while the girls were in this really amazing after-school program, I was doing all of their arts classes and teaching them acting and doing sculpture and all sorts of different stuff. And so it was a really critical moment for me to be working with social workers as opposed to arts professionals, to sort of understand how this could all work together and how a lot of the basic principles of social work and a lot of the basic principles of arts education could really come together. So it was a really amazing moment for me.
So for me, being in an environment and being able to enable new opportunities and to be able to be there when someone experiences something for the first time, or creates a song and records it. That to me is really a very is why I do the work that I do, because I feel that what we do, we change people's lives every day, and that's what I've been trying to do my whole life, is just to change lives, to make it a little bit better for somebody, or to make it a little bit easier, or make it a little bit more fun.
So what's most inspirational about Girls Rock Austin is seeing the transformation in our campers, for sure. Girls coming in, being kind of shy, maybe a little socially awkward. By Friday, they're all talking to each other, getting to know each other, collaborating well, working on their song. Seeing them stand up on stage and perform, it's really great. I don't know that I can convey it just verbally here, but seeing moms and volunteers and tough tattooed men cry at the showcase performances, it's really an amazing experience.
That's one of the nice things about a nonprofit. I mean, setting aside the fact that you're not going to make a lot of money in certain nonprofits, but you're there for a different reason. You're there, one, because you're really creating an environment that you're going to thrive in, and you're in an environment the nonprofit world allows for creativity, allows to take some risks, allows to identify an area of need and then create a program or create something that's going to address that area of need. And that's the beauty of being in the nonprofit sector.
There's more than enough money to support whatever project you're doing, and there's somebody out there that wants to give it. You do just have to keep at it and find the right person and find the right people from all angles. I used to think, well, we really need to do grants, and then I thought, well, we really need to do events, and now I know we got to do all that stuff all the time. And but honestly, some of the best connections and coolest opportunities that we've had have just come from me, trying to be open-minded enough and having a great conversation with somebody somewhere, and then it's the kind of who you know stuff that happens. So if you allow yourself to not be too shy and to be fearless, and just whoever you're talking to and believing in what you do helps a bunch with that.
I also think just sort of staying open and kind of going with the flow of opportunities that come your way, and not having too specific of a plan you're trying to fit into. I feel like that's for me, I feel like that's kind of led me, because I honestly have never really had these, I've never had specific goals for myself of I want to be doing this, but just kind of moving with the world and kind of staying open to things and kind of trusting your instincts. And I don't know, that's kind of weird advice, but I feel like that's been helpful to me in terms of just being open to what's around you.